right, the time is 5:30. I'm going to call to order the Committee of Whole for February 10th, 2025. Clerk Boat, could you read the roll?
Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Spatafor. Councilmember Carter.
Here.
Councilmember Pelivanoglu.
Present.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Cost.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson.
Present.
7 members present.
Thank you. And Councilman Spatafor has asked for an excused absence tonight. We have the minutes for January 27th. Vice President Carter.
Yes, I would move the January 27th minutes as presented.
We have a proper motion in place. Is there any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Passes unanimously. Next, we have public comment on agenda items. If there's anyone here from the public that wishes to speak publicly, please step up to the podium. You will have 3 minutes, and can you state your name for the record?
Okay, Loretta Stanaway, here to talk about the Board of Water and Light, their future, their expenditures, their uses of energy, and their sources of energy. We are focusing on, from what we hear from them constantly, getting away from coal, going to gas, going to solar, going to wind, because they are supposedly greener. That's debatable for a lot of folks, but I've been reading a lot lately about different sources of energy that we've not heard anything from the Board of Water and Light about. Hydrogen, hydroelectric, hydrosity, green and blue hydrogen, power from taking the water out of the air, power from using the heat from recycled heating and cooling ventilation systems. There are a plethora of new and exciting and undiscussed options out there for future sources of energy that are greener and cleaner than gas or coal or solar or wind. And I'm just wondering when we're going to start hearing about those from the board. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing no takers, we are going to move on to our presentations. The first one we have up is going to be the Lansing Board of Water and Light annual audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. I believe we have Dick and Scott here. Perfect. If you gentlemen like to take a seat, make sure the green light is on, and I will turn the floor over when you are ready. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Good evening, council members. It is our pleasure to be here tonight. And for the first agenda item, I'm going to turn it over to Scott Taylor, the manager of our finance and planning group. Scott.
Thanks, Dick. Good evening. Thanks for inviting us tonight to share the results of our annual financial audit. Our most recent audit was for our fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. The audit was conducted by Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly is a firm that has many public power clients. I'm happy to report that we had a clean audit. We received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance an audit can provide, and there were no findings or recommendations. I see that you have our full audited financial statements in your packet, so I'll just share a few key highlights from the statements with you, and I'm happy to address any questions you may have about the audit. On our balance sheet, you'll see a large increase in both assets and liabilities. This is primarily driven by our bond issuance. In January 2024, we issued $365 million in revenue bonds. Those bonds were to support our investment in new energy, to pay for capitalized interest costs, and to refinance portions of our 2013A and 2019B bonds. The refinancing portion of the issuance resulted in approximately $5 million or 10% in present value savings. On our income statement, you'll see a reduction in revenues from $449 million in 2023 to $417 million in 2024. It's about a $32 million reduction. That's primarily due to change in our wholesale sales. Fiscal year 2023 was historically a high year in sales for us because energy market prices and generation were high. And then in 2024 was a relatively low year for market prices and generation. So the change from a higher than a typical year to a lower than typical year is what resulted in the more significant year-over-year change than we would normally see in our revenues. Although revenues were down, the lower sales volume also led, therefore, to lower production expenses, which helped offset the revenue decrease. As a result, we were still able to generate a net income of about $9.9 million compared to $16 million the prior year. As you're likely aware, even though we're not a for-profit entity, it's still very important for us to generate a net income each year because those funds are needed for reinvestment in our infrastructure. As our poles, our lines, our pipes reach the end of their useful life, they need to be replaced at a cost that's significantly inflated from their historical cost. So that net income that's generated provides the additional funding needed to replace those assets at their current day cost. Those are a few key operational highlights, but as you're aware, our audited statements also include our retirement plans. So I'm happy to report that all of our retirement plans are healthy and they're performing well. Both our defined benefit plan and our post-retirement benefit plan are fully funded. That's just like I said, a high level. I know there's 66 pages in there. I didn't want to go through in detail, but wanted to share at a glance kind of the key highlights of the results. I'm happy to answer any questions about our audit if there are any.
Questions? Councilman Jackson.
Thank you. A couple questions. First is the capital expenditures. Looking at where it says $191.3 million for 2024. And that's on page 4. I guess my question is what are the capital improvements that are going to be made to meet the clean energy goal in the law for 2030? And were there any of them in the 2024 out of that $191 million for capital improvements?
Yeah, approximately half of the capital expenditure was towards our new energy program, and the other half was towards our ongoing capital, which is replacement of equipment in our current plants, lines, et cetera.
When you mean the new energy program, do you mean the rice plants?
That's part of the program, yes.
Okay. My next question is on page 6 where it says financing activities. You talked about the bonds.
Yes.
And in here it says, well, first you said investment in energy, but in here it says for the purposes of paying costs for system improvements, capitalized interest, and tendering a portion, something. Are these the same bonds that was for the clean energy bonds that you guys passed recently?
Yes.
So why doesn't any of it say that here? That's going to probably be for Dick. Because that's what the bonds were issued and you touted, that it was for clean energy bonds. So I just wonder why doesn't it say it's for any clean energy projects in this report or what you said?
The bond funds are eligible and usable for clean energy, but part of it is not all the funds went directly towards that program because there were tax ramifications of the use of funds. For example, if we use each dollar that's used towards an investment tax credit eligible reduces the tax credit funds. So what we do in our forecasting is we look at our total cash position, our total cash needs, and then we bond to supplement. So by being able to use bond proceeds for not only clean energy or new energy, but also our existing improvements where applicable, we can manage our tax liability better and save money. So we projected by strategically applying the borrowing funds, we were able to save over $4 to $5 million in tax credits.
Okay, it just was confusing because at the first part of it, it was all about the bond for clean energy programs, and it was the biggest deal. And then now it seems like it's not much of that money is going towards that. But I mean, that's just what I'm reading on the paper. I could be wrong somehow.
We can help you, council member. When we announced clean energy bonds back at that point, the rice engines were considered clean. When that ruling changed, we changed the bond title so it wasn't misleading. And it's been a while since we had the bond, so probably it's not even on top of my head. We'd be happy to send you exactly in the bond structure what we said we'd use the energy for, so that you can see what was laid out and what the bond proceeds have to be used for. We're happy to provide that.
So after all this time, and I remember now, because there was a debate that I didn't think was a debate whether rice plants and natural gas is clean or not.
Yeah.
And then I remember you wouldn't answer whether you thought that that was clean or not. Like, you just wouldn't answer. It was just strange. But now, okay, so now you thought it was clean and you had to wait for a ruling, and now you figured it's not clean.
No, the law said it was clean. The law changed, is not what I thought.
Okay.
I just followed the rules. State of Michigan made a change in what they considered clean energy, so we followed that track.
So after all these years of us talking and the research and all that about the natural gas and how it's actually not clean, and the supply chain, the fracking, the leaks, the carbon capture, or not, in this case not, because it wasn't the law or something. So after all these years, it took basically a ruling for you to realize that it's not clean.
Now, that's not correct. We just followed the law. When the law said it was clean, we considered it clean. When the law said it's not, we don't. It's not for us to determine that.
So when we're talking about the law for 2040, is it something about producing clean energy, or is it buying clean energy?
It's, you have to have clean energy. Whether you produce or buy it, that's up to the utility. And in 2030, the law is 50%, and 2035 is 60%. So you have to furnish documentation that you have that percentage renewable to the MPSC, and we've already submitted are working on our submittal to show that we'll be there.
Okay, so since we don't have any projects planned that'll be completed in time, we should assume that we're going to be buying.
No, as we've said in the
credit?
past, our projects will be completed to a 53% level by 2030. They're either under construction or under contract at this time.
And again, you're saying that it's not the plan to buy renewable credits instead of produce renewable energy? Is that what you're saying the plan is?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have Councilwoman Pelley Vonnegut, but first I wanted to jump to the internal auditor if you were able to review this report and if you had any questions.
Come on. Thank you, President Cost. I did get a chance to review this and the previous 4 or 5 years just for fun. Congratulations on the clean audit.
Thank you.
It's nothing unique to BWL, so you're keeping a good standard there. Congratulations, Scott. Yeah, I did look at the notes and everything else, and no deficiencies. I did have questions sort of similar to what Councilmember Jackson had with regard to generation. You generate roughly 53% or so of the energy that's sold wholesale and to the customers. Is that correct?
I'll let Scott look at the
Was there a
exact number.
specific page reference that was in the, when we break down our generation sources in the MD&A?
Well, through the years, it's generally
Sounds
BWL
correct.
generated 53% of its retail and wholesale sales from existing generation assets, yes.
that BWL owns these assets for the generation, and then the rest is purchased through the interconnect,
Yes, purchase power agreements.
First Power. And sort of to bounce off of Councilmember Jackson, do you know what the interconnect renewable energy rates are going to be on that in the future? Is there plans for the, I know the coal plant's shutting down there in Monroe. Is DTE coming up with renewable energy for us to buy through the interconnect?
The interconnect right now, which is ITC with Board of Water and Light, the renewables that are built outside our service territory, we have PPAs in place so that energy is guaranteed us, and whatever the cost is to get it back to our customers is determined by ITC. It has averaged about an 8% per year increase. And there's no way to lock any long-term contracts in with ITC for not for an amount, not for the quantity of energy, but for the cost per energy.
So that's part of your overall plan for the renewable energy to meet in, what is it, 2030?
Yes, the 53%, which Some of it will be built internal to our own transmission grid, but some of the large wind project will be north of our area. So we'll have to use ITC to get that energy back to us. And there's a couple large solar arrays that are in the works that will receive energy back from them as well.
Right. And in your financial statements, you say you're on a path to meet the state legislative requirements. What does that path look like? Is it something that we have to incrementally increase until 2030 when the requirements come in, or do we have to have just that fiscal year for 2030 have that requirement just that year?
Right now, the law is 15% renewable energy. We're at 21, so we're not going to wait until the last minute. So we are incrementally increasing it, even though we're not required to. All we have to do is maintain 15% currently, and then the next goal is 50%.
Okay, so you're saying 15% is required, you're around 21% right now, and then the goal's 50 in 5 years.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, that's about all I had. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilperson Pelli-Voneglo.
Thank you, President Cost, and thank you for being here this evening. If you could turn your attention to page 20 of this report out, it did catch my eye when the report talks about the various types of risks that were assessed. And under the custodial credit risk of investments, the last sentence in that paragraph says, the Board of Water and Light does not have a policy for custodial credit risk. Could you explain maybe why we do not currently have a policy to address that type of risk, if there has never been a need for it, if you see no need for it, and if not, if it is a potential risk, is that something that you would plan to implement in the future?
Sure. We do have an investment policy that helps address that risk. So while it's not specifically focused on custodial credit risk, it does have aspects of that in it. For example, limitations in how much any custodian can hold, any investment can be held in. So that's a good observation. I can challenge whether or not that's really accurate, because we do have within our investment policy mechanisms for limiting our exposure in that area.
I have Councilman Hussein. Oh, didn't have a question. All right, I have a few questions. On the aspect of reducing energy use citywide, have we looked into, or are you looking into maybe reducing neighborhood street light wattage, adding motion sensors to some of the lighting that's on that's public or on your buildings, things like that?
We do on our buildings. Our building, in fact, our main office is LEED certified, so it complies with that. Street lights are based on an industry standards for lumens per foot, and so we follow that. If the city has a request to limit them or reduce them, we're happy to do that. We did convert to all LEDs. Now that's come with a problem in its own because the technology was new and the bulbs are defective, so we're having to go through all 30,000 of them again. If you see a blue light, that's not something nice. That just means it's going to fail pretty soon. The manufacturer is standing behind that, but what we thought we'd be done with, we're kind of starting over. But as far as the amount of lighting, we follow the standard, and that's what the city's asked us to do, because you pay so much a month for the light fixture, and it's amortized over a length of time. We're happy to adjust anything by the city's direction, or if they think that you can have every other street light, something like that. You're the customer there. You just tell us what you want. We'll explain to you what the standard is and the pros and cons, but ultimately you're the one paying the bill.
And then if the city were to, and this is for my own curiosity, I know that there are fitments for the streetlights that come down to cut down on the pollution, the light pollution.
Yes.
If we were to ask the board to do, to retrofit all the streetlights, I mean, do you know what the cost is on each one of those?
We do. I don't have it at my fingertips because when we were making the what I call the secondary roads, your city streets, when we were asked, we worked with the city, said, do you want to go to be dark sky compliant? And we showed them the price of that. And actually, it was less money because dark sky compliant light fixtures, they don't have the glass in them because it stops the diffusion, and we could have taken them out. Now, we put a few in neighborhoods, and phone rang off the hook. Everybody called us, hey, you know, somebody's broke the glass out, you don't have them. And it was an education process, and the city administration we worked with just said that it looks like a half-baked project. So that is for the stand-up poles. It would be a whole different scenario for the primary streets, and that would be a cost increase there. And I don't know if we can even do it with the existing fixtures. I think once the decision was made, we marched forward. But we did a sample in some neighborhoods to get, didn't really, waited to see what public feedback was, and then showed that to the city administration. It was, at that time, the residents didn't, were not interested in the fixtures that were dark sky compliant by, and it was, you know, 9 out of 10 of them said that, you know, it looks like you bought that at a box store or somewhere else. Sure. Excuse me.
And then I have seen these streetlights that actually have solar panels built onto them that Consumers has placed.
Yes.
Places like DeWitt, and I think there's
Yeah.
some along the back of Eastwood. I don't know if those are BWL or not.
They are not.
Is there any, have we looked into those at all? Are we considering using them?
Absolutely, we have. They come with, in fact, I think I misspoke. The new ones that you mentioned, they're ours. But the only way that we could have, well, the customer can afford those right now is with a grant. They're about $8,000 a street light, which is 10 times that, because not only does it come with a solar panel, it comes with a battery pack, because they want them off the grid, so you save the cost of running the wire, but they're very expensive. Some of the ones that we've looked at actually have a little wind turret on them too, so that they can capture wind and solar at the same time. You know, as the cost comes down, you know, we'll continue to evaluate it, but yeah, we're very familiar with those, and when there's grant money available, they make good sense, because there's no electrical infrastructure. They are truly off the grid.
And then the last thing I was going to ask was solar panels. I know that other cities have implemented programs where if there's vacant land or rooftops, that they've offered incentives to those businesses or property owners to put solar on there. Is there any intention of the board ever considering, say, downtown here, offering some of these flat rooftop businesses to put solar?
Yes, we work with a lot of those business owners, and I think the next stage for solar for us is we did the community solar out at our East Lansing. It was a closed landfill, and it took a while to sell that out. It took the city of East Lansing and CATA to buy the bulk of it, but we think that, we don't think, we're going to offer probably in the next 6 months another community solar array, but it'll be part of one of the larger arrays that we build on. There's 3 of them going up around town, so that they don't have to stand on their own financial ability for community solar. We couldn't hit the interest to break ground on it, but now that we're building it, you know, if somebody wants to buy into the panels, Lansing resident or anybody, that we're going to be able to do that. So that's the next phase. I expect that program to be out in about 6 months.
Okay. Any further questions on this? Okay, seeing none, we're going to thank Scott for being here, and I believe that for our next part, Dick is going to stay.
Yep, I'm here.
Which is item C. It's going to be an update on the smart meter shutoffs from BWL. I had spoken to Mr. Pepley Dick about some of the issues that we've been hearing, and asked for this presentation from him, and to be able to answer questions if what questions you have about different things such as shutoff or these smart meters, which I think there's a lot of confusion around. So, Dick, I will give you the floor.
Thank you, Council President. And I think it is a great time to refresh, because these are kind of in the rearview mirror for most part. So a little bit of background. Currently, 75% of the country has smart meters, and it's moving towards 100%. It's slowed a little bit because of the areas in the country that don't have smart meters. They're rural, and smart meters don't have a long transmitting distance. They only have 1 watt of power. But we are moving that way. And I think that an area of confusion that most people don't know is that we hear we went from analog meters to smart meters, we want our analog meter back. It's really not the case. We went from analog meters to electronic meters almost 15 years ago. And the only thing a smart meter did was just a module that was added to transmit back and forth. Didn't affect any of the internal meter. It just made it a communicating device. Now, a lot of new meters went in, but we had started changing out because analog meters were getting pricey and harder to get, like I said, almost 15 years ago. So there's a little background. Went from analog to electronic in a lot of areas to full smart meters. And the smart meter project wrapped up in about 3 years ago, and we started installing smart meters in 2017. I'm here to tell you that when they came out with those, I signed up to be one of the first guinea pigs. I love the smart meter. I'm here to tell you that the advantages for our customers is that you can track your energy usage. You can log on and look and see, and especially when water, if you're looking at it, next day you log on and you had water usage at night, you're thinking, why was I using water? You probably have a leaky toilet or something like that. And I could show you customers that come in and have a $300 bill instead of $40. They had a toilet running. A smart meter will help pick that up for them. It does look for zero usage at night. Now, it's not going to catch everything, but it gives you the availability to do that. And with our time of use, you don't have to do anything for time of use. Basically, the peak energy from 1 to 8 o'clock, Monday through Friday, if you don't do anything, your bill was there was a very small increase. We went to that, though, for folks that want to use our, I always get the name wrong, so I actually wrote it down. Now I can't find it. It's an aggressive usage if you really want to manage your energy. So you can use your smart meter and you can monitor your energy, and you can get down off peak to 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Now on peak, you have to be very careful because it's in the high 20s, but you're moving that energy off peak. You're doing it by programming your dishwasher, your washing machine to run at night, using your electric car program to charge at night, and you can save a lot of money. So the smart meter allows you to do that. Outages, we know when your power's out. If you're away and it goes out, we know, and you can log on and see that, hey, the meter's not reading, and you don't have to worry about it. We'll turn it on. It also allowed us to help our carbon footprint. It took 18 vehicles off the road that were on the road 8 hours a day. They just ran all day long, and all employees were retrained for different jobs. Nobody lost their job in this conversion. And then estimated reads. That was one of the biggest complaints that we got. We saw if an employee was sick or inclement weather, it was an estimated read. We don't have estimated reads anymore. So that was another very big benefit of it. I did look back to see, because we've had one speaker at our board meeting in almost 2 years on smart meters. So I went back to see some of the concerns, and there was the output of it. A smart meter runs off a radio signal, and it puts out 1 watt of signal. My cell phone puts out 1 watt. The smart meter talks to the board water light 4 times a day for a total of 90 seconds. So if you went out and stood beside that smart meter, for 24 hours, you get the same equivalent of radio energy output as a 90-second call on a cell phone. So those are facts. The smart meter's got the output, it's FCC approved. So there is very little energy output. Now, if you have an issue with your house, it's going to talk back and forth because you want to do that. Or if you're pinging it to monitor your energy usage, it's going to talk then. But typically, on a normal state, it's talking to us 4 times a day, and that's it, for a total of about 90 seconds. Another issue was there had been some reports of fires from lithium batteries in smart meters. We don't use batteries in any of our residential smart meters. They run off the power from the power company. So that is a very condensed my knowledge on smart meters, and I want to make sure I give you time to ask specific questions on the smart meters. They are very accurate too.
Internal auditor.
Yes.
Thank you, President Cost. I just wanted to clarify, you're talking smart meters. And then you're talking electricity, then you're talking water. Are they the same thing, or are they two different meters?
Yeah, they're two different meters. We put 157,000 meters on between water and electric, about 100,000 electric, 57,000 water. We offered an opt-out plan, and less than 200 people opted out. That's 0.1%. I'll do the math. And so the water meter is a little different, as that we can't do automatic turn on and off with the water meter. It's still, still have to roll a truck through that. But the electric meters, which you just replace the meter inside of your house, is completely automated for if somebody asks us to turn it off, or if a customer has a turn off, a shut off, which we can turn that on immediately instead of wait to roll a truck. So yeah, it's two different style meters, and I think that probably clarifies it. You're welcome.
We can go on to the next section. I don't see any questions on those.
Okay, shut-offs. Again, I'll do some background for you. Prior to 2023, we opted out of what was called Public Act 95, and that allowed us to, we did not do shut-offs during the winter. And we got a lot of pressure from state of Michigan, as well as some of the community organizations, because when spring came, we had thousands of people in a shut-off pool. And their bill, human nature, you're gonna pay the person probably that's nipping at your checkbook the hardest, and we understand that. When spring came, some of the bills were so high, the organizations that help our customers, they have a limit. You know, if you've got a $700 bill and they got 5 people with $100 bills, that's where they're gonna put their resources. So the state was always perturbed about that, saying, you know, you're dumping these thousands of people in April in the shut-off pool on us. So in 23, we decided to opt in. Well, prior to that, we also put $400,000 into an account to help people pay their bills. You know, it's out of our general fund. So in 23, we opted into PA 95. And then what happens is the state of Michigan has a fund, and you take and assess every customer, it's 88 cents, about $1 a meter, and that money went to the state of Michigan, and they worked with us to get that back to community organizations that could help our customers. So that generated almost $1.2 million, a little less than that annually, and by opting in, though, you have to do a turnoff. But by opting in, it also made our customers eligible for 2 other funds, one state and one federal, which access another $1.2 million. So now all of a sudden we have, instead of a $400,000 pool that the Board of Water and Light is putting up every year, you have $2.5 million to help people on, and you have a levelized shutoffs so the folks don't get way behind, and they can basically get help. The $2.5 million goes a long way in our service territory to help keep people on. That is a huge, and it might be 2.4. I'm kind of rounding the numbers, but it gives you the order of magnitude of where we were and where we are now. And it panned out to be very profitable, because my commission said, you opted out of this for 8 years, told us you didn't like it, because originally I didn't want to give the Board of Water and Light customers money to the state and maybe it went somewhere else. But we decided to try it. It was a huge success, and it's a good thing because it's going to be the law next year. We won't have any choice, so it did work out. So a little background right there. So when it comes to turnoffs, we send a bill out. About 21 days later, if we haven't been paid, we send out a reminder, and then, you know, a week or so, less than a week than that, we give you a call with a stronger message in the mail. Hey, you need to pay. But you can call 211. We give all kinds of avenues to help people pay their bill. You know, the last thing you want to do is turn off a bill. It's not a good, or a customer, it's not a good business plan. So then after that, a final bill comes, and it's about a 55-day process where you actually can get turned off, and you go into the turn-off pool. So a couple things here to note is when the city has its code blues, we don't do any turnoffs either. We don't turn any seniors off during the winter turnoff time. And also those folks that are in the winter protection program, it's based on income, they don't get turned off either. So that's important to know, because sometimes we hear, you know, folks that can at least afford to pay get turned off. That's not the case. So they get put in, we still work with those folks because comes April, the bill's going to come due, and we want to keep that bill from getting too big so that the organizations have the funding that they can help work with them. So that is the timetable for shutoffs, how shutoffs work, and how we got into PA 95 before it became law. Happy to answer questions on that from anybody, any council members.
Well, I have a few questions. You said shutoffs on seniors do not happen now.
During the
Winter.
winter,
yeah.
yes.
But that doesn't include water, correct?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Is there because of the law or?
I want to retract that. I don't know if the Michigan, I have experts behind me. It may include not shutting water off for seniors and the people in the pool. I can't hear your head shaking. It is just electric, Councilman.
Okay. So is there a way that the board could also make that water, water is essential.
Yes.
And I guess maybe explore the cost of that, how much that would, you would hold on to, because I've heard from many people, my electric was still on, but we didn't have any water and we needed water.
Yes, absolutely. We have been making what I call incremental steps. We came up for the first time ever in our previous rate strategy that if you use less than 2 CCVF of water, which two in a household can maintain that very reasonable. It is a very inexpensive rate. I know it doesn't address a big household, but it's kind of a step for us to do a tiered system. We're very careful doing that to make sure we're not violating any kind of, how we treat one customer class versus another. So we started there. We are aggressively looking to not turn folks' water off. I looked before I came here, and there's about 50 of our 157,000 customers without water right now. And I'm not minimizing 50 customers, but on our service base, it is very, very small. But we're constantly looking. There's a couple of my commissioners that are very, very vocal about that, continue to look to see how you can do that. And we'll make sure that we look for funding that can address water shutoffs, so that we can help minimize them. And I think I said last time, though, I know every dollar is a lot, but, the Board of Water and Light average water bill is $40. That includes our entire service territory. So for our city residents, it's typically less than that because the suburbs have higher usage. We document that. So that's 4,000 gallons of water for $40, and so that's a penny a gallon delivered. But pennies add up. I'm just letting you know that electric is a little more pricey. That's around $95. But I have zero heartburn pushing staff to see if we can minimize water shutoffs to you.
Yep. And I would think that there would be a cost savings there because I believe you said that the electric you can do remotely, but the water you still have to manually go out to shut off.
We do, and we don't recover 100% of our costs to do that because we are rolling a truck. So you're correct, and no, I don't have any problems looking to that to see if we can make headway. I think we're making small steps, but we haven't got to where I can tell you that we don't shut water off any time. We have been very careful to watch. There was a large city in the state to stop that and stop collecting, and it almost bankrupted them. They're still in a mess. So it's a very delicate balancing act for us and how to, because every customer doesn't pay, the million a month that we don't get, we have to collect from somebody else. And so it's a balancing act, and your request is not falling on deaf ears.
Appreciate it. Do we have any further questions? Internal auditor.
Hi, Dick. Sorry.
It's all right.
I heard you mention PA 95, and I remember looking at your internal auditor's
Yep.
schedule, and they are looking into PA 95.
Yeah, they were going to do an audit to see if it panned out like, to smell check everything we did. They're still going to do that, but it really becomes moot because it's now the law. But I still like to see the audit report. So yes, that's scheduled to be done this fiscal year.
So my question is, PA 95, you're talking, what was it, 1 point something or other million?
It's about $1. It's going to go up to $1 a meter. We got 140 1,000 customers, so you can kind of look at the math. It's about $100,000 a month to us.
Whereas looking at your financials, and as Councilmember Jackson said, you're talking, you're building a new power generation facility. It's over 100 million or so. And, you know, BWL's normal operating business is running the power, running the
Yes, sir.
Water. It's not building power generation facilities. That's not your day-to-day. And as an auditor, I see any significant changes in people, processes, or systems as a risk that you should take into consideration and have an auditor watch. I was just wondering if you have any, in addition to your internal auditor, someone else to monitor these construction projects to make sure that, you know, your project managers are operating correctly.
We do, internal controls does look at that, and any capital project, if it exceeds the approved budget by 15% or 200,000, whichever is larger, I have to take that to the board to explain why.
Oh, project overages?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, any further questions? Seeing none, I want to thank you for being here tonight,
Yes.
and your team for being here, and we appreciate all of the information.
You're welcome. Have a nice night.
You too. All right, we are going to move on to item D, which is an update on the Lansing City Public Safety Complex project. I've got Roy, John, Dan, and Rob here. There should be another seat down there. If you want to make sure that the green light is on your microphones. And if you could share your name as well when you start to speak, just for the record, so we know who's who. I will turn the floor over.
Good evening. John McGraw, River Caddis. Thanks so much for having us here tonight. Honored to be here on behalf of the city and provide this update. Tonight, we have myself from River Caddis, Dan from River Caddis. We have Roy from the city of Lansing, and then we have Rob from Chrisman. So the time that we have left, we've provided a quarterly update, which we'll obviously continue to do. If there's any alterations or changes that the council would like to see in that document, please let us know so we can supply those for the quarterly updates going forward. As you can see on the second page, tonight is an update on essentially the budget and the schedule, and we are on schedule and on budget, which is a great place to be. It's great to be able to say to you tonight, we're very proud of this project on behalf of the city and the public safety facility. So with the remaining time, we'd love to open this up and provide time for any questions that you guys may have for this project.
Do we have any questions? Councilmember Hussein, Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. Thanks for being here this evening, providing a little bit of an update. So where exactly are you guys at? I see on, what is this, page 83 of 85, is regarding the combined packages. Where on this are you at right now?
Rob, would you like to take that?
Hi there, test, is it on? So hello again, thanks for having us here tonight. I'm Rob Crow with the Chrisman Company.
Pull it just a little closer to you.
Yep. All right. So I guess maybe if you could just help me understand the question, is it as far as like?
So you have bid package 1 through 9. Where exactly are you at on that?
Okay, got it. Yeah, so we have completed through bid package We are evaluating, 6 is complete, 7, and we are, all those are complete, and we have pending bid packages for the interior fit out of the public safety building, and then fire training, which will be on the back side, the west side of the site. That is not yet bid. And then station number 8, deliberately, that was later in the process, as it's later in the sequence as we move through each of the different fire stations. Did that answer it, or?
Yeah, I see somewhere else in here, it said 90% of the underground utilities is already completed?
Yep.
That's correct?
Correct, yep, for the combined site.
For the combined site. Now, are there any plans with, this may be for you, Roy, for the city of Lansing, for the old training site off of Pennsylvania there?
I don't know of any future plans for Alpha. I'm sure that plays into the big picture, but I'm not involved with that.
Okay, and what's the plans for Fire Station 9 once that's completed on the new site, the existing Fire Station 9?
Again, full exit from that, so all 9 operations will be running out of the new Station 9. But again, same as Alpha, I don't have an answer for a future plan for that asset.
Do you know, though, if the city plans on keeping that structure, or do they plan on removing it?
I could have some internal conversation and get you some answers on that, but I don't know that decision has been made. I don't want to comment on anybody else's behalf on that.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? It appears not. All right, well, we appreciate, actually, hold on one second here, one question. At the end, projected timeline and budget of $175 million. Is that an accurate number?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, I appreciate all 4 of you coming tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are going to move on to item 6E, which is outside board and commission updates from council members. Now, I do realize that it is very early on right now with our outside boards and commissions, so many are just setting up. But I wanted to keep this on the schedule as something we're going to do and see if anyone had any updates from any of their outside boards and commissions. I know some of us served together on some of those, so. Councilperson Peli Voneglo.
Thank you, President Cost. This is going to take a few minutes, so please bear with me. I did a quick write-up of these outside committees. I'll start with Capital Area Michigan Works, the Administrative Board. The first meeting of this year will be held on Wednesday, February 26th at 3:30 p.m. There has been an update to the board. The admin board chair has been named as Robin Anderson King, who is with the City of Lansing Neighborhood. She's the City of Lansing Neighborhood Resource Coordinator. Another update on that front is that in January there was a concern about the federal spending freeze implemented through the current administration, and that could have affected day-to-day operations. Carrie from Capital Area Michigan Works was very communicative over the span of that week. Day-to-day operations did continue, and so they are just proceeding as usual, but understanding that this could come up again in the near future. So again, that is hasn't had much movement in this committee yet for this year, but those are some items of interest. Next, I am appointed as the liaison to the Township of Lansing. So in this assignment, I understand that typically this liaison would meet on an as-needed basis with the primary contact, and that primary contact is a Lansing Township Supervisor, Maggie Sanders. Now, I have made contact with Supervisor Sanders' office with an offer to meet and discuss common areas of interest, including regional issues, planning, or any projects that may come forward. Next, to the Tri-County Office on Aging. At our first, and I'm sorry, I can pause if there were any questions between these committee report outs. I have 2 more to get through. Okay, at our first meeting of 2025, there was an election of officers that was held. Irene Cahill is going to serve as chair of the Tri-County Office on Aging, and Mark Meadows serving as vice chair. There was a 2025 federal funding update. There is a continued resolution that was issued extending funding at the fiscal year 24 levels through March 14th of 2025. However, this funding does not include the reauthorization of the Older Americans Act. However, TCOA is urging Congress to reauthorize that as it helps to support 16 area agencies on aging in Michigan and over 600 agencies nationally. There is a veteran-directed care program that's been developed by the Veterans Health Administration and Administration for Community Living Veterans. I'm sorry if I messed up that title. Eligible veterans will be referred by the VA Battle Creek Health Center to Tri-County Office on Aging for in-home services. This is a way of supporting aging veterans who wish to stay in their home and their community. There are some project choices that were reported out on during this meeting. They include in-home care with community options by connecting eligible individuals with support and case coordinators. These coordinators will work with folks who are 60 years plus who could benefit from limited support such as personal care, homemaking, and assistance for those who need respite from caregiving. Currently, this service has approximately 300 participants. As for case management, case managers help discuss all available options for those who are 60 years plus, again with home and community-based services. And this is more of an in-depth service, and they have approximately 100 participants. There's also the My Choice waiver. This is for adults who qualify that are 18 years and older or 65 years plus. It provides vital assistance to Medicaid beneficiaries who have been assessed and meet the state's nursing facility level of care criteria. The program supports individuals through a comprehensive range of person-centered and in-home services and supports. It includes helping with activities of daily living, nursing services, home-delivered meals, home modifications, respite care, transportation, adult day care, and more. Close to finish with this one. There are fundraising efforts that are continuing and ongoing throughout the year for TCOA. Their next meeting will be Monday, March 17th, 2025 at 3:30 p.m. And lastly, Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. Their organizational meeting was held on Wednesday, January 22nd. Officers were elected, and Nathan Triplett, who represents Caddo, will be serving as chair for 2025. There was an announcement made on January 30th announcing Art Storm 2025 project, and this project is enacted to enhance placemaking and pollution prevention throughout the Greater Lansing region. The Arts Council of Greater Lansing will partner with Art Storm 2025 to help hire local artists to paint the murals. Each of the Greater Lansing Regional Committee for Stormwater Management's 17-member communities will select a storm drain in an urban area of high pedestrian traffic for mural placement. For more information, artists can go to www.mitcrpc.org. Thank you.
Thank you. I will report out, the Planning Commission was canceled, so we have not been able to get a report there. And then Community Corrections, I was not on their email list yet, so I do not have the materials. For our first meeting, we did elect officers to that group, but it was a very quick meeting. Judges seemed to move very quickly. Anyone else? Seeing and hearing none. Right, then we will adjourn Committee of the Whole at 6:23.